Hey there, gamers. Welcome back to Cryptic Gaming. This is your captain speaking. So, I was asked to do a video explaining a little bit more in depth on how to focus on ship builds. So, for those coming into the game, it may seem kind of overwhelming. If you've ever played MMORPG games that have different types of characters, you have like your tanks, you have your DPS guys, you have your magic wielders, your necromancers that are fire mages, your healers, and things like that. Well, this is basically the same principle as that with your ship. So we're going to come to shipwright, explain basic shipbuilding, and then we're going to talk about a little bit furniture and how to pick your weapons. I don't want to make this too long of a video to overwhelm you because it's going to teach you this coming into the game a little bit, but this has actually changed with Ascension Mastery for those of us who have made it to World Tier 2, so you need to understand the basics before you get to that. Alright, so crafting new items. Let's come in here. And I want to pick, so most of you started with the rammer. This is a ship type that is a DPS. It's a Lancer. To me, it's just a ship that's, I mean, it's okay for ramming and stuff. Again, here's the tank. You have Ironclad. It's okay, your Hulk. But I want to get to like this. This is a support ship, specialized in aiding friendly ships. This is the Sentinel class cutter. So this is going to have things. It's going to help to actually unburden and to help your friends. It's not quite as good as, say, a bark, but it's starting to get there. Now, one of my favorite ships, now there's a couple of them. So you have a Firebrand barge. This is basically like an early type of a sandbuck ship. For those who've ever watched my other videos, you'll know that I love DPS stuff. I really focus in on the sandbuck and pushing it to its limits. Well, this is the first type of a ship that you get of it. It's like using fire mages in those. So you're going to have an ablaze effect. It applies this ablaze effect to all ships within a 125 meter area. So you want to use a weapon that causes burning damage that will charge the ablaze effect. So the more burning damage that you do with your weapon, the more you're charging the effect that causes a blaze. So that's something you need to be focused on here when you're using this particular style of ship. Now, another great ship if you're into smaller classes. Now, from what it sounds like, y'all have able to just bypass all this stuff and jump straight into the large class. I still use sloops and I still use the barge. They're both great ships. Especially inside like defense areas where you're into tributaries and things like that. This here is probably one of my favorite. Again, a DPS, this one focuses on blast, which is your explosive proc. Whenever you do enough explosive damage, it will do a blast within a 1500 damage within a 150 meter radius. So it does a great job on that. So how do you do that? Well, you would use something like a fire bombard or any kind of a weapon that has an explosion to it. So one of the best, I guess, explosive weapons out there is the Dardanelles cannon. It is a type of a bombard. I personally don't like it. It syncs the shots up. You can't pick your shots individually. Everything just kind of procs together and fires. A lot of folks love it. It wasn't my big thing. I loved it with the Fire Bombard 3. Any of your Fire Bombards, but you definitely want to get the 3s on here once you get ranked up enough for that, guys. Now, coming into your medium ships, the Bombarder. This is a fantastic ship when it comes to if you have an aggressive play style like I do. This was one of the first ones I used. This has the detonate effect on there. Again, this is explosive, so another great ship for fire bombards using this Patagon. Then, of course, you have the Snow. This is basically a Hulk. It has tenacity as a perk. It's basically your tank character. I use it a lot for whenever we're going out on a big farm and you got a lot of people with you and you're just going out raiding the map. You want something that's got a lot of hull space and has a lot of health. This does a good job, but sometimes you might want something that's going to be able to come in and have that kind of hull space but also heal. That's where the bark comes in. We'll explain that a little bit more. So this here is the Brigantine. This is, as far as I'm aware, still probably when it comes to fast runner ships. Now, it may not be the absolute fastest. I think the Brig might actually have 1 or 2 knots on it when tweaked out right. But the Brigantine is one of the fastest fast-running ramming ships there is in the game. And for guys who love to ram, like just knock crap out of a boat and cause flooding, this is a great option. It has Hull Breaker perk on it. very great. The bullhorn, they've actually got some cosmetics that really look cool for that ship. I like to use that ship for picking up my eights and stuff back in the day because it's quick. The wind doesn't have as much of a effect on it as, say, the Sandbuck, which the wind can slow you down to almost a crawl running like 9 knots in that thing. This here, not quite as bad. But it also doesn't have a very, very strong hull. It's not as weak as some ships. But, it's one of those things where, for me, it wasn't my type. I like AOE effects or AOE on my ships and stuff. So for that's an area of effect. So anything that's going to cause, like, say, this Sandbuck. Now you can still get this blueprint here in the black market. It's 3,500 pieces of 8. If you are not a kingpin, don't worry about what that means right now. You're not going to be able to get that ship. Until you can get to a kingpin situation or start earning pieces of 8. Now, they may have a way for you to farm that early in the game now. I don't know. There's no way for us to go back and replay those earlier missions. So some of these videos, there may be some things that have changed from back, a year ago when we were starting out like you guys are now. It used to take 3 hours to get through a shipwreck. And 2 or 3 hours to get through the shipwreck, and then you would be in the cutter, and you would have to move your way up through the ranks and stuff. And it was just like pulling teeth. But it sounds like people are able to get into those ships within 6 hours now, from what some of the comments are saying. So, yeah, I feel like they've kind of cheated you a little bit, made it a little too quick. But they want you to be able to catch up in Season 1. For those who are coming back into the game after leaving it last year, you've got time to get caught up on last year's stuff in this first season before it really breaks into the factional systems and stuff. So I do recommend that you really start grinding. So the Pyromantic, this is Sandbuck. I'm going to be putting a video out tomorrow on that, guys. So if you're seeing this and it is now Tuesday for you, then that means that you need to be looking for that Sandbuck video if you're running Sandbucks. Like I say, this is one of my specialty ships. I love it. I use it for everything. So it has Scorched as the perk, deals 5,000 burning damage when you apply the Ablaze effect to an enemy ship. The Ablaze is applied to enemies in a radius of 150 meters. Increases damage to ships with Ablaze effect by 30%. Now, I can actually really start to increase that using weapon types and furniture, and we're going to tell you about that too. The bark. I use a battle bark system. I do some support healing, but it has an automatic status that heals people around you, and you can throw a couple healing weapons, but I use a lot of weapons as well to just go out and farm around and stuff. Great ship, all-around ship you could use. It is, unfortunately, my understanding, you've got to wait for it to rotate in on Blackwood or the black market, and as of right now this week it wasn't in there. Tonight we're getting a reset here about an hour and a half, so maybe it'll be in there Tuesday morning when you wake up. I don't know, but you're going to have to watch that to get that blueprint, unless they've changed something. Now they may actually have changed something where you can pick this up in the game somewhere else. Like I say, I already have the blueprint, so it's not going to allow me to track it. It'll allow me to track what is used to build the ship. But being as I have the blueprint, I can't tell you where it's at. Like I say, it's going to be something that Blackwood or Yanita, which is in your black market, is going to have. So then the Artificer, the Brig. This ship, there's a lot of folks who love it. Now, if you're one of those guys that like to move fast and snipe, this is a boat for you. I was never a big fan of it personally. I actually relegated mine. It's leveled up, but I relegated it just picking up 8s. It wasn't a ship that I cared much about. Now, it's a great ship, I'm sure, for certain aspects, but I like to get right up in there. I've never been one for the sniper class on things like that. So Juggernaut, this is the battle junk. It's a tank. It has provoking on it. This is just a brute right here. This came out, I guess it was Season 3. Now, I think you can pick him up at Blackwood right now, but I don't know if that's going to hold true on Tuesday morning or if it's going to rotate around with something else. Pretty good ship. Then, of course, your sharpshooter. This is the Garuda. This came out in Season 4. So this is something that has another ship for those of you who like those double winch ballistas and long gun type cannons and things like that. Fantastic stats for that kind of stuff if you like those sniper rounds. Then, of course, our new ship, the Schooner. Put a build out on it. I'm still tweaking around with it. I'm still not quite sure how I want to do this, but this has a broadside attack, turning every barrage into an explosive reaction. So I don't know if that requires you to have explosive on the ship or if it just automatically adds explosive to it. Let's see here. It says increase damage structure by 50%, increase weak point damage by 30% for 10 seconds. Weapon. It sounds like a great fort killer to me. A lot of folks use it for forts, but I seen it rocking out some ships today too when we're farming with the Discord crew. If you're interested in Discord groups, check down in the comments. Write down in the comments. Say, hey, you want to join? We'll get you an invite. Either me or someone that runs the Discord moderators. They'll be able to get you an invite in there, guys. And everyone likes to jump in and help, especially, we got new players coming in, or even experienced players who are looking for folks to run with. We've always got people that are kind of on, whether it's talking in chat. Some people like, voice chat. Some people prefer to text chat. Whatever your, pleasure is, there's something for you there. So this here will do broadside weapon damage 25%, while active broadside hits can trigger a 700 damaging explosion every 3 seconds with within a 100-meter blast radius. So that's just amazing stuff. So I think we'll play around with that a little bit. I've got some ideas on it. Seen some builds that are pretty impressive. I'd put a build video out on it. It was okay. I'd like to say I like coordinates, but I'm not really sold on some of the guns that I'd used on it. So like I said, it's going to take some tweaking. But I hope that explains some of the ship classes. So weapons classes, they're pretty well self-explanatory. That's not going to take too much time to show you, but we will show you a couple things that you will need to know. So depending on the type of ship that you're wanting to use, you're going to have to know something about the different weapon types. When you look in here, you see this says all deck weapons, and you tab over top deck weapons, auxiliary weapons, bow weapons. Okay, then of course you have your armor and then the ammunitions. So all deck weapons mean you're going to be stacking the top deck and any of the lower gun ports, and this is how you get those. And these are going to cause like the culverins, enhanced culverins, and demi cannons, and then of course your enhanced demi cannons. These are going to fill in every gun port and just massive damage. So all your demi cannons, they're going to trigger in. It's going to be basically like a huge shotgun, everything firing at one time. When it comes to your culverins, you're going to be able to pick the shot individually that you want to do, except for the Urban's great gun, because what it does is it will actually time all the guns to fire in unison. And it adds tearing, which does a good job tearing the sails out of ships and stuff. Wouldn't be too bad, maybe put it on the back. It's still one of those things kind of playing around with. Then, of course, Heaven's Mandate, that's probably one of my favorite ones right there, is Heaven's Wrath, the electric damage and things like that coming into it. But if you're using a ship that calls for burning, this one here is going to give you an 18 strike perk, a provoking strike, but it's also going to give you burning 2, add 20% of damage as burning damage, which is going to work toward your blaze effect. Now, there was also, let's find her here. Where's the Zama 3s at? There we go. So a Zama 3, this has Raider burning 2 on it, 20% damage as well. So this really works with the Sandbuck or any of those ships that need fire damage. But if you got something that needs explosive damage, they've got some demi cannons coming out for that. So you have like this explosive demi cannon 3 that you could use. They have some culverins with explosive damage that you could use. But for me, I always like the top deck weapons. Like, you're not going to be able to use the lower ports with this, guys. Understand that when you switch to a bombard, but you're getting a lot more damage output. So Fire Bombard 3, it has where it does the incendiary to set targets ablaze, but it also specializes in the explosive too. So you could use this as, say, a weapon on the back of your Sandbuck, which is what I use it for, because you're still getting burning, which can add to that ablaze effect. But the explosive damage does feed into the ablaze effect with this weapon. So that just gives you that little bit of extra on there. Now, it's not as much as, say, the Zama 3s or that Phoenix Talon that I was showing you earlier, but it does a good job with that, so I would recommend it. Definitely for a sloop. You could use it on sandbuck. There's a lot of guys that run on sandbuck. The Patagonia, great ship for that as well. So up to you how you want to use it. Then of course you have long guns, and then you have these long guns that have like extra piercing damage or fire on top of them. It seems like they've got some explosive. They have Skurlock long nines. These are mast breakers, man. If you can shoot the mast out of an enemy ship, PvP they will just tear the sails all up, and make them sit dead in the water. You have piercing 3, tearing 2 on there, mast breaker effects, lots of great stuff. But you will want to match your guns whatever type of aiming style you like. Just make sure it has the type of damage output that you like. Same with auxiliary weapons. You have mortars, enhanced mortars, you have rockets, you have enhanced rockets, spring loaders, be like for mines. I'll use like mine spring loader 3. You have the blight keeper, you have the little grace 3. A lot of great options there. Now you may be saying, well, why are you missing some? Well, I don't typically pick up like the little grace 1. I have the 3, picked up the 2 in a mission. I didn't bother with this one here. This is something I might go ahead and pick up. I could build it. I just got to go get another Orca intricate apparatus, or just build one of those over at the refinery. But it's not really something I was too keen on. It's okay. I don't really use buoy weapons much. They was pretty cool to check out. Now, when it comes to these ballista, there is the Great Springwall. It's a great one. I never cared for the sea fire weapons personally. There's a lot of folks who love them. There's a lot of folks who swear by them. They have too short of a range for my taste. Some people put them on those sandbucks because they have that ablaze effect and all that. It just takes too long for it to recharge once you've overheated that weapon. So up to you if you want to use it, but it just wasn't for me. But again, you're going to steer those weapons to match your ship damage type. Then of course the furniture. This is what will make or break your ship. Now there's different types of furniture out there, and again, you're going to have to do your captain's tools. You definitely want to make sure you get those upgraded as soon as possible. You have different types. These are your basic types of furnitures. Now you can pick up these blueprints across the world in passes a lot of time, like this the potent schematic. This was something that was, I believe that was season 1 we picked up. We needed it to see weak points on ships, but now they just show the weak points on ships, so don't really need it so much anymore. To have other weapons that do more stuff than that. You're going to see things like maintained arsenal. So what this does is it maintains your auxiliary weapons, increasing the damage output. So that'll be for like your mortars or rockets and things like that. Vat of volatiles works well against structures, so it's going to give a little bit of extra boost to your weapons in certain types of situations. So those are going what you'd be looking for on that. Increases minefield buoys and things like that. Projectile speed. So those are going to be your grinders, bombards, grindstones, long gun grinders, torpedo grinders, ballista grinders, culverin grinders. I personally don't use grinders much, and I very rarely would actually build one. They drop from ships everywhere. So up to you if you want to invest in that kind of stuff. Bombard powder houses. These are things that are going to add range to your weapons. It's going to increase area of effects of your weapons. It's going to increase the damage of weapons as well. Most of it's going to be for your ranges. And then of course your utility furniture. So like this one here, the double hull plank. This one actually adds health by 5%, adds an extra 5% health to a ship. Which doesn't sound like much, but it does come in handy. Maintenance forge. This is one I definitely recommend. It restores 1% of the severe damage on your ship when you're out of combat. So say you took some damage, but you've won and they did massive damage. You got this red line that just won't go away and you can't quite heal it. Well, you could go all the way back to port and pay to have that done, or you could just get out of combat and that will actually repair that, and then you could use your repair kit and you're good to go. And we didn't talk about it over there, but the armor. Your armor, there's so many different types of armors right now. If you're just coming into the good and to this game, you're going to want to get, we'll show you what that armor is, but it drops from your little convoys and stuff like that. We'll show you what that is, but it's probably the best you're going to get for right now. But once you reach Kingpin, you're going to be able to pick a whole lot more different types of armors. Okay, so these are your workshops, lead kettles. So let's see, boatswain call. So this here is going to allows more damage from your crew attacks. You can do crew attacks from your ships. Your joiner workshop hones repair weapons. Lead kettle, for those of you who like using those ramming ships like that Brigantine or the Badar, you want lead kettle. This is going to make it so you can do more damage when you come flying in there. Just really bashing it at hole and cause more flooding for longer periods of time. Spiked war horns, these are great when you're doing crew attacks. It increases the charge rate of your crew attacks, so you get them more often. So if you're using furnitures, we'll show you a furniture type here in a minute that actually heals your ship whenever you're using it. You use this on there, you'll be able to heal your ship more often as well. Sticky fuel station, this is going to increase the duration of ablaze effects on enemies. Then you have like volatile fuel, which increases the charge rate of the ablaze effect. So these are great ones to use on those ships that use fire weapons. Then of course, density furnace increases the charge rate of flooded status effects on a target. So if you're doing flooding, whether it was long guns or you're using those fast runners, or say the Brigantine and you're ramming into people and using those fast shooting cannons and things that have flooding on it, good way to do that. So I hope you're kind of seeing the trend. A lot of really good stuff. Then you have what they call major furnitures. You're allowed one major on your ship. These are amplified captain's commands, pushing gun crews to reload faster. For like this one here, you have some that's rope blockers that help with increased acceleration. You have some that are scoping. It helps look for weak points that you can exploit on enemy ships. A lot of really cool stuff. But again, keep in mind the type of warfare you're good at that you want to do. So that's really where it's at, man. I hope this has kind of helped you if you're coming into this. So this armor, real quick. Let's see if I can find that real quick, because I done forgot what it's called. It's been so long since I've used it. Royal Custodian. So this is an armor that you're going to be able to pick up pretty early in the game. I definitely recommend it. You're going to get it from like running special convoys, your convoys and things like that around. You'll be able to run those, and just jump in with a group of people and go hammer it real quick. Once you get that Royal Custodian, you're going to be pretty good. Black Prince was another pretty good, decent armor that's out there. That they've come up with a lot of different stuff. Once you start hunting down like the sea monster and stuff, I do recommend Ouroboros for those of you who are still playing through the mission line, because this will actually repairs your ship after bracing against enemy fire. After shooting at you, you hold your brace button. Once they're done bracing, let off of it, and it charges your health. So very, very good one to use. I love it. Then, of course, as you start to progress into game, you're going to have like the Whaling Ward. For those of you who maybe have read across some of those plague ships that shoot that green snot at you, that's a good one. It keeps the toxic fog from being as, it's the, I think it's the Whaling Ward. No, maybe it's not. Maybe it was the Wrathful Ward that protects you from it. Yeah, the Wrathful Ward protects you when you get shot at with this stuff, and then the Whaling Ward unleashes a deadly toxic fog when they hit you. Like if they shoot you, or if they bump into you, or you bump into them, it's going to reduce and damage your crew stamina. Okay, so, and that's great when you're playing against PvP with people. You can bump into them with it. It causes massive damage to their ship because you're sucking away their brace and all with that toxic cloud. So a lot of really cool effects that you can get. Now you can build some Gamma Cobra, Titan's Cuirass, Phoenix Crest. They have different types that you can build as you move through. It seemed like La Fortress 3 I was using there for quite a while. But really, when it comes down to it, you're not going to be able to beat that Royal Custodian until you start moving into higher types of stuff like the Black Prince and all that kind of stuff. rose to the black prints. That's just me personally. That made a lot of people disagree with me about a year ago, but that's just my take on it. So I hope this video helps you out. Y'all have a wonderful day.